Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.
Welcome once again. The federal government has declared that it will stop the payment of fuel subsidy by the end of June 2023. Finance Minister Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, who spoke during the public presentation of the 2023 federal government budget, disclosed that in the 2023 fiscal period, the government has made provision of 3.36 trillion naira for fuel subsidy payment to cover the first 6 months of the year.
So within the whole of these statutory transfers, there is 228.1 billion for National Assembly, 173.6 billion for INEC, 165 billion for the Judicial Council of Nigeria, that's the judiciary arm of government, 119.9 billion for NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Commission, 103.3 billion for UBEC, Universal Basic Education, 59 billion for NEDC, Northeast Development Commission, 51.6 billion for the Basic Health Care Provision Fund, and 51.6 billion for NASENI, and 10.7 billion for Public Complaints Commission, and 4.5.
While recalling on the third quarter of the year 2022 budget performance, the finance minister said the GDP grew by 2.25% year-on-year in real time in the third quarter of last year, with a decline of 4.03% when compared to the corresponding year. She added that the federal government's retained revenue was 6.5 trillion naira, which represents 87% of the prorated target as of November, with 7.47 trillion amongst others.
So the actual performance of the 2022 budget, starting with the revenue, even as we look at the expenditure. As of November, the federal government's retained revenue was 6.5 trillion naira, and this represents 87% of the prorated target as at November of 7.47 trillion. The federal government's share of oil revenue was just 568.71 billion, representing a 35.7% performance, while the non-oil taxes totaling 2.09 trillion, a performance of 123.3%, shows that the non-oil revenue is really.
In the meantime, a former Minister of Education, Obiageli Ezekwesili, has raised concerns over the 2023 national budget, describing it as hopeless. The president this week had signed the budget of 21.83 trillion naira along with the 2022 supplementary appropriation bill into law. Speaking at the event, the president had said his administration would speed up critical infrastructure projects nationwide as it raced towards the finish line on the 29th of May. However, reacting to the budget on Wednesday via her Twitter page, Obi Ezekwesili had decried the budget deficit, adding that it was important for Nigerians now to get their permanent voter cards. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says the use of cash payment will naturally reduce by 2025 as the new Naira note circulates in the economy. The Apex Bank made this known in its Payment Vision 2025 document, in which it said the country aspired to have a cashless and efficient electronic payment system infrastructure which would facilitate financial services in all the sectors of the economy. According to the CBN document, the Nigerian payment landscape has many options which have displaced cash in recent times, including electronic bill payment, mobile phone top-up, and mobile and instant payments. The federal government has inaugurated the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC. Secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, had yesterday inaugurated the board on behalf of the president at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel Abuja. Speaking during the inauguration, Boss Mustafa urged members of the board to be above board. While on her part, the Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs, Mrs. Sharon Ikeazu, urged the new board to work towards restoring hope to the people of the region. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, says it's observing all countries with increasing COVID cases, showing that the COVID-19 Omicron sub-lineages partly responsible for the current increase in COVID-19 cases in China, the US, and the UK, have not yet been detected in the country. The NCDC yesterday disclosed this in an update on COVID-19 genomic surveillance signed by its Director General, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, which also showed that the Omicron sublineage responsible for the rise in cases in the US and UK, XBB 1.5, while BF.7 is responsible for the increased cases in China. Adetifa, however, said the B521 has been seen in Nigeria since July last year. Adetifa further said the country targeted travel restrictions, including requests for PCR negative tests from incoming travelers, had little or no effect on preventing global and national circulation of Omicron since the emergence of the variant and its relatives with their shorter incubation period. In security matters, the Department of State Services, the DSS, announced yesterday that it has arrested the mastermind of a December 29 explosion in Kogi State, which occurred near the palace of the Ohioi of Ebira land. During the visit of President Muhammadu Buhari to commission some projects, the service had arrested one Abdul Mumin Ibrahim Otaru and one of his associates, identified as Saidu Sulaiman, on the 3rd of January this year, where he sustained a gunshot injury to the foot while attempting to escape and currently receiving treatment at a health facility. Also in the statement, the public relations officer at the DSS, Mr. Peter Afunaya, said during investigations it was gathered that the suspect was a high commander of the Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP and either coordinated or was involved in a 24th of June 2022 attack on Nigeria Police Area Command Okene LGA Kogi State, where Police Inspector Idris Musa was killed while 2 rifles were carted away. The DSS further stated that Abdul Mumin Otaru may have also been involved in the 5th of July 2022 attack on the Kuje Medium Security Custodial Center in the FCT and the 5th of August 2022 attack on West African Ceramics Limited in Ajaokuta local government area in Kogi State, in which 3 Indian expatriates were kidnapped. The INEC has received the last batch of the bimodal voter accreditation machines, the BVAS. This was contained in an official statement signed by the National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee INEC, Festus Okoye, on Wednesday. According to the statement, the Commission created 4 airport hubs in Abuja, Kano as well. The statement read that the Commission's Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, national commissioners and senior officials of the Commission were at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to receive the consignment. Electricity distribution companies have reportedly quietly increased the payable by power consumers across the country. Although most of the discos did not make this public, power users have kicked against the move, describing it as a rip-off amidst the current harsh economic reality in the country. Reacting to the price, a Twitter user had accused the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company that the disco quietly increased the power tariff in December without an official statement, alleging that the firm raised the rate for non-maximum demand customers by $12.65. Replying to the tweet, the Abuja EDC via its official Twitter handle and explained that the tariff hike was based on the order of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. And the Nigerian Medical Association South Zone has threatened to shut down all hospitals in Delta State to protest against the murder of one of its members, Dr. Uyi Iluobe, by gunmen who attacked his hospital on New Year's Eve. Chairman, NMA Edo State Branch, South Caucus, Dr. Udoka Imoisili, and Secretary, NMA Edo State Branch, South Caucus, Dr. Collins Otoikila, in a statement, threatened to commence a 1-week shutdown of hospitals in the state, whilst adding that the union will not spare anything to ensure that the victim and his family get justice. The doctors, who gave the relevant security agencies a 5-day ultimatum to arrest perpetrators of the crime, also directed members of all NMA state branches in the South to henceforth put on black armbands throughout the week to mourn their late colleague. Outside of the country, the death toll from a double car bomb attack in the central Somali province of Hiran has increased to 19, as at press time, witnesses say people far away from the site of the explosions were also wounded by flying fragments. Several houses were also flattened. The district commissioner of Mahas town in Somalia said his home and that of an MP were the targets. The Islamist group Shabaab had claimed responsibilities for the attacks. The insurgents have stepped up attacks in recent months following an all-out offensive against them. And talking business, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, says the total revenue available to fund the 2023 budget is estimated at 10.49 trillion naira, where 22% of the projected revenues are expected from oil-related sources, while 78% is to be earned from the non-oil sector. The minister, who made a disclosure and a breakdown of the highlights of the 2023 Appropriation Act, said of this, the federal government oil revenue share is projected to be 2.29 trillion, non-oil taxes are 2.43 trillion, and federal government independent revenues are 2.64 trillion.
So total revenue available at slide 19 to fund the 2023 FGM budget is estimated at 10.49 trillion naira. And this includes gross revenues of 63 government-owned enterprises totaling 3.87 trillion. Of this, federal government oil revenue share is projected to be 2.29 trillion, non-oil taxes at 2.4 trillion, and federal government independent revenues at 2.64 trillion. Other revenues totaling 762 billion are also projected in the 20.
Also, according to the finance minister, in the statutory transfers, 228.1 billion is allocated for the National Assembly, 173.6 billion for the INEC, 165 billion for the Judicial Council, and 119.9 billion allocated for the Niger Delta Development Commission, amongst others. And lastly, sports news. Officials of the Nigeria Football Association have confirmed the Flying Eagles head coach Ladan Bosso will submit his final squad list of 23 players to CAF latest the 20th of January, ahead of the 2023 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations finals scheduled for Egypt. The tournament is built to hold from February 19 to March 11, with seven-time champions Nigeria drawn against the hosts Egypt, Senegal, and Mozambique in Group A of the competition. In the meantime, Bosso stated that the team will resume the final phase of camping for the forthcoming tournament on the 7th of January. And a round of 17 matches continued last night in the English Premier League. Tottenham got back to winning ways with a 4-0 drop-in of Crystal Palace. Aston Villa drew 1-1 with Wolverhampton Wanderers. Nottingham Forest defeated Southampton 1-0, while Leeds drew 2-2 with West Ham. Tonight's fixtures sees Chelsea host Manchester City at Stamford Bridge.
Lagos Talks
91.3.